It's now, it's not fascism, it's fascistic, and it's only their own lack of authority and power that stops them, doubling down and killing more. If every country had acted like Britain, the world would have been the apocalypse.
And are you terrified that if Dominic Cumming doesn't apologise for...
No, fuck apology.
No, but if he doesn't acknowledge that he didn't follow government instructions...
But he designed those. He was the guy at the meetings.
But the point is, if he doesn't admit that, there's going to be catastrophic deaths because nobody's going to follow government guidelines.
No, but it's done. The death rate's falling everywhere. But it's it's only because everyone vulnerable's died. The estimates now are over 60,000. You know what I mean?
Do you not think there's going to be another peak because now no one gives a fuck about the pandemic?
No, if you go on the website that tracks it all the statistics say it's over. But we're going to be bankrupt as a country. It's going to be 2 years till anyone can go to a football match. All our industries, the whole London global city thing means that whole, and I'm quite glad about it, that whole neoliberal, libertarian, hyper-capitalism, it's done. And that's what Johnson, he did what they said Corbyn would do. He destroyed the country in every way possible. He was a patsy, it was really Cameron and Osborne that really cut everything and created a completely unstable thing. It doesn't matter if Johnson's Prime Minister for 100 years, he's finished.
Are you not concerned that because Dominic Cummings hasn't said that what he did was wrong, the whole country now are going to ignore any future government guidelines?
Look, I'll give you an analogy, right? One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. The novel is a lot better and more realistic, and that did a lot of damage to mental health. And when the novel became a play, then Michael Douglas wanted to make it a movie, and he actually bought the rights, and the author refused it. And so they bought the rights to the play. So the writer, Ken Kesey, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, he's never seen the film. And they said to him, why haven't you seen the film? And he said, if the Hell's Angels knocked on your door and said, we've got your daughter you want to watch, would you leave the house? If that happened to your entire family that were vulnerable, what the fuck, sorry, it's over. People don't get it. As many people have died over the last 10 years incrementally. There's no standard anymore where Britain's a first world country. From homelessness, we're like oil barons. We're like fucking Saudi Arabia 20 years ago, where there's a billionaire class. The average wage outside London's only under 30 grand a year. And in London, the costs mean that it's hugely, forget the NHS, there's huge skill shortage. Whereas if Australians, Canadians stop working for media companies, look at football. There's now 4 stadiums in North London, 5, include Chelsea, and 6, include Fulham and QPR. That all have an average capacity of 50, 60,000. That all cost $1 billion in debt. That are all finished now. They can't put 60,000, 80,000, 90,000 people in a stadium. And they were all built by outsourced companies that will charge 1,000,000% interest in every way. There's no angle where London thinks it's Britain and Britain thinks it's the world. But the world's fine. The world dealt with it. 1 in 10 people that have died in it, at least, just based on reported figures, are in this country.
Why do you think that was?
Well, the UK, Brazil, and United States, even right-wing governments are publicly now saying, watch, there's a police car pulling in, take a few steps one way, are publicly saying that Johnson was the wrong man at the wrong time. That's what the Berlusconis of the world are saying.
Can you take a photo of me?
What?
Can you take a photo of me?
No, I'm taking a 5-minute video. I've taken no photos of you.
How do you know each other?
No, I just talked to him this morning like you.
Can you take a photo of me?
No, I can show you my phone.
Huh?
What? Why not?
No, on here, on my phone.
Oh, can I take a photo of you? I thought you said, did you take a photo of me? I'm filming something, mate, so I can't. You can ask her if you want.
Huh?
I can't, because I'm doing this video thing. Go on then, it's fine. Yeah, give me your phone. It's fine. Let's do it.
Just hit the white button.
Yeah, I know. So I can't see if it can see your sign or not, because your sign's so terrible. Just look, smile, whatever. Smile.
Thanks,
You know,
Joshua.
it's alright. You know what I mean? Like, everything you're saying is like on the basis that things could get better.
No, I'm saying.
No, I'm saying that's how people think.
Yeah.
That's how people talk. Like, should he apologise? How do you fix this?
Yeah.
There's no best or worst case scenario.
Do you not think if he said, I didn't follow the government guidelines and I'm ashamed that I
He
didn't?
never will. He never will. That's not how he thinks. Like, he thinks of himself, like the Bullingdon Club did, those guys. He thinks of himself, like with Brexit, I fought the system and I won.
Yeah.
He doesn't think, oh, my father-in-law owns a castle I went to. He thinks that because everyone disagrees with him, that makes him right. You know, and this is like...
What's his motive?
But what, I ask you one question, right? Apart from COVID and how it's handled politically, has there been a worse event since World War II?
No.
You
Not
know?
in the UK.
So, like, what the fuck is an apology?
Because,
You know what I mean? Like, would Hitler have apologised if he'd lived? Like, who gives a fuck?
because unless he does, loads of more deaths are going to occur into this later on this year.
No, because as soon as PMQ started, Johnson was forced to be closer to Starmer's position. Every week Starmer will say something and then Johnson will do it but fuck it up a bit.
Right.
You know, like 100 people are dying a day and it's been 1,000 for 2 months. You know. But like the real things that are going to happen, there's going to be a huge mental health crisis. That's not going to be actually people who've had mental health problems because they've like learned to deal with it like more. But there's going to be a lot of people now, you know, look what the Conservatives have done to people on benefits, and now the whole country's on benefits, you know, and that's gonna, you can be very rich and like, have nothing to do and get depressed and get anxious and have a divorce and have it's a slippery slope. And
Do you think all of those things, if you're poor, it's a different story?
no, I think it's I think it is.
Well, mate, nice meeting you.
You too.
Bye.
Well, nice is a slight exaggeration. I'm saying like austerity clearly impacted the poor disproportionately, but this is it's beyond that. You know, it's this is generational. You know, if I wasn't from London, or in particularly if I could speak a second language, you know, would I leave the country?
Yeah.
No, I could totally like. The only thing that would stop me is like pride, and you know, family and stuff. But if I was rational, I'd go to Ireland tomorrow.
Why Ireland?
Because you can speak English and it's not just gone through, you know.
Do you feel sad then with the numbers of deaths here?
Like, the scale of it completely shocked me, but the logic of it never did. Like, I knew, I wrote this massive thing about it, about how, have you ever seen Game of Thrones?
No.
Well, there's a blonde entitled family that say they do everything for family but do it for power. And there's an egg in the middle of nowhere that becomes a dragon that burns it down. There's like I don't know, it's not that or the other. Like Johnson, no one in London voted for him, and London's the only place he's really held power as mayor. You know, it's very clear the best case scenario with global warming, you know, people don't look at it like in January it was 20 degrees, in February there were huge storms. You know, it's been, in every level there's been a huge amount. You know, people don't realise yet, you can clap for a minute a week, but the NHS isn't the NHS. You know, just because it's free to use.
What do you mean it's not the NHS?
Well, if you go to a hospital at a normal time, sign up to the Wi-Fi, see if that's government provided, which would be free, you know, or £10 a month like you pay. See how many of the staff there are clearly like outsourced, like G4S type cleaners. See how many doctors there are, see how many nurses there are.
Outsourced as in from a different country?
No, as in,
Not from the NHS?
as in from a temp agency.
Right.
You know, how many admin staff there are, how many empty desks there are, how many queues there are. Like, there's no, like the BBC isn't the BBC. Like, you watch fucking Children in Need and there's a Sainsbury's advert on it.
Yeah.
You know, people don't notice there's no TV anymore. In the last 10 years, what sitcoms there been? Fleabag, 4 years ago, end of list.
Yeah.
If you think what they used to be, you know, that's why there's so much nostalgia, because like it's a very white male driven culture. But when I was growing up, like TV was good. Like, even soap operas were good. Even like dramas and comedies and stuff were good. And now it's like, I think after 9/11 Iraq and stuff, Britain sort of made a subconscious decision to sort of commit suicide because we were too caught up with empire and we didn't even remember it. And it was quite left-wing at the time. And like, you know, with Brexit and stuff, whatever it was, you know, you make a decision. Either a country with 50 million people where no one gives a shit, and that's fine, or, you know, you modernise and you build new cities in the middle of Cornwall where it's not even nice looking, you get 100 million people and you act like this global thing. But what is it?
Are you concerned about climate change and how we're not in tune with knowing how to manage it?
I think that's the only silver lining of this. Like, first time since the Icelandic ash cloud that there's no planes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you don't realise, like, the sky's full of fucking Murdoch satellites, there's the ozone layer is, and the seas are full of ocean. There's an island of garbage in the Pacific the size of North America, like the whole continent. It's all really loose bits of plastic that are completely, like, everyone dumps it there.
What are your reading sources? What sites do you go to?
Like, Google it, go on Wikipedia, check the sources. You know, it's been reported by the fucking Wall Street Journal or whatever. Like, look at it like, if you buy like a meal deal from Tesco, there's no way to recycle it. There's no recycling bins anywhere.
No.
Times that by 9 billion people and put it all in the oceans. You know, I mean,
Is that how many people on the planet there are now?
maybe 7.
Nearly 8, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, will humans survive is like asking, will Neanderthals survive? You know, you could argue they didn't, or you could argue they're better than ever as us.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be a generation. It's not going to be like social evolution. It's going to be like evolution. It's going to take us tens of thousands of years to sort of evolve to a point where, like, just practical things happen. And, you know,
Do you think in this century there will be a super intelligence and we become their...
no. I mean, things like food. Forget vegetarianism. The idea that it's worth spending 20p more to not kill millions of animals a day, to not covered in fucking bird shit or whatever. You know, because then if you're killing billions of animals a day, you know, that's like fast food becomes a huge thing. Like, it's a sort of cycle of sort of choices instead of practicality. Like, in London, you have an infinite number of choices. You can get barred from any pub when they're open and go next door. You know, you can be, that's why people spend so much here. They can be anonymous. You know, and you know that Owl bookshop in Kentish Town?
No.
You'd know it if you saw it maybe, but I went to a talk there about, I don't remember what it was about, but someone said, you know, I'm in a first world country, in a big city, I earn a decent living, I've got the basic things, why should I feel anxious? And he went, well, do you? You know, you lose your job, you can't pay your mortgage.
Yeah.
And there's homeless people, which there aren't in a lot of like the developing world.
Yeah.
You know, there's,
How do you think that could be resolved, the homelessness?
I don't know, it's all been done, but I mean, like, there's a lot of assumptions that Britain is, you know, I think its golden age was 50 years ago, where it was very inclusive. It was, you know, I mean, there was racism everywhere, but you compare it to America or anywhere, you know, that's when London did become like the right idea of this sort of immigrant thing, you know. I mean, if you just think everywhere else in the world, Muslims are seen as something, and here they're seen as the person in the off license. Everywhere else is like they don't drink.
Yeah.
And then you have that sort of direct connection. And, you know, it was like the post-war consensus where from like Churchill to Wilson, if you're Conservative or Labour, it didn't matter a million times as much as when Thatcher got in. You know, and then it became Tony Benn or Margaret Thatcher, really. You know, like...
You're very knowledgeable. I'm going to
Yeah.
that now.